Good evening, everyone. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, I wish to state that on December 2nd, 2016, the notice of this meeting of Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township Bulletin Board, mailed to the Cape May County Gazette, the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Central Ledger, the Herald Times, filed with the Township Clerk. This meeting is being video recorded up until the closed session portion of this meeting, and will be available on Upper Township TV channel 97 and on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct that this announcement be made a part of the minutes of this meeting. Ask everybody to stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Barb, you want to call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mr. Coggins?
Here.
Mr. Corson?
Present.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Mayor Palumbo is not with us this
Mayor
evening.
Palumbo isn't with us tonight. He is out in Phoenix at a pharmacy regulatory meeting, and he's representing the fine state of New Jersey. Okay, can we have the motion to approve the minutes of November 2nd, 2016 regular meeting?
21.
21.
What did I say, second?
You said so.
21st. November 21st, 2016 regular meeting and the closed session minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, Barb?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion is carried. 4 in favor.
Okay, we'll move right into the report of the governing body members. Barb?
Nothing to report this evening, sir. Thank you.
Nothing at this time, but we do have some contract negotiation, potential litigation, and personnel matters for closed session.
Thanks, sir. Paul?
Good evening, thank you. I just had two things. One, I just wanted to give the committee an update on the progress on the Bayview Avenue Boat Ramp project in Strathmere. The contractor, did take heed of, our recommendation to keep moving forward and working. He's got about 2/3 of the concrete curb installed, and I think he's going to be in good shape to have the work done before the end of the year, barring 2 weeks of solid rain or real severe cold weather. I think you'll be able to get it done before the end of the year. That's coming.
Good. Nice to hear.
The other thing I just wanted to give you an update. We received a letter in the mail package last week from Dale Foster, the county engineer, and he's requesting a letter of support, a resolution for support for the road improvements on Corson Tavern Road. They're currently in the process of designing the Upper Township section. He has most of the funding for the Upper Township section, but he's also in the process of submitting for additional federal funding for the Dennis Township portion. And just to make sure everything stays on track, he's looking for an additional resolution of support, and he's hoping to have the projects out to for construction in 2018. So if we could, at the next meeting, have that resolution.
Are they going to bring that up behind the tavern there and improve that section?
That's a separate project. They're running the bridge behind. He's already done the design of that. That was anticipated to go out to construction this fall. However, when they're completing the drainage design, I'm sure you're aware, it needs some drainage improvements in that area. The county received an easement from the township, but there's 1 or 2 other properties that they haven't finalized securing easements from private property owners to improve the drainage. So once they have that, so I think he's anticipating a spring construction, hopefully, for that project. So it's a separate project.
That's identified as the New Bridge Road
New Bridge
project.
Road. Yes.
Yeah, we covered that a few months ago.
It'd kind of be nice if they tied them together and tore up traffic all at once, but
They'll have the first one done. I don't think we want to wait for New Bridge Road for another year and a half. But,
true.
That is scheduled for hopefully the early part of next year.
Yeah, probably July.
So do we need a motion to,
Just motion to direct that resolution be placed on the next agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Barb?
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Motion
Not
is
like there's
carried.
any problems with that vote.
No.
I think I hear about it in Wawa every day. And I feel it every day.
Wawa, please.
That's all I had this evening. Thank
There we
you.
go. All done?
Hold on, thank you.
And Barb,
I
nice
just
to
have,
see that you're back from vacation.
I am, unfortunately. I do have one request this evening for attendance at a class. One of our EMTs, one of our senior EMTs is requesting attendance at a 3-day class on emergency response to domestic biological incidents. There's no cost to it. It's in Gloucester County. There's no cost for the class. It would just be her time away to attend. So because it's a 3-day class, it does require your approval.
Okay, can I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Absolutely, yes.
Motion is carried. That's all I have this evening.
Mr. Coggins?
Nothing to report, but I'd like to remind all the township department heads that the request for budgets have gone out, and they will need to be delivered to the CFO's office by the week before Christmas if they anticipate getting any of their budget requests approved. Nothing else.
Short and sweet. Mr. Young?
Just to report on a couple of the sports. Our JV football team won the league championship last weekend. They beat Galloway. And our varsity lost in, I think it was overtime. So we had a really good year in football this year. We also had one or two of our soccer teams won the states at the youth level. So we'll be having some resolutions to do coming up. I'm going to hold them off till after the first of the year. And we have a couple from wrestling from last year. Other than that, we're just trying to move along down at Amanda's. And Mike's moving along with the projects we got here. So holidays are coming, we're trying to keep it simple.
Sounds good. Mr. Corson?
Nothing at this time, Mr. Moore.
This time, okay. As I just wanted to reiterate from our last meeting, how the mayor stressed that this is the holiday season, the time of giving to those who are less fortunate. And by all means, keep in mind, out in the town hall center here, we have the Toys for Top Bin, so anybody that wishes to buy a youngster a toy, by all means, it would be greatly appreciated. And December 19th is our next meeting, so just in case of going back and forth with some meetings, just wanted to verify that December 19th is our next meeting. And Paul, how are you making out with leaves?
There are a lot of leaves out on the street. The crews, I think, are running slightly behind. They're in Seaville now. They probably have at least another day, if not two, in Seaville, and then moving to Petersburg. And once they do that, they'll start their second round. But because of the heavy load right now in Seaville, most likely the second round through Seaville will be a lot lighter because of how much they're picking up right now.
Where else have they been so far?
They've been everything from the busiest point to Seaville. So it's just the last bit of Seaville. So they kind of hit the entire Route 9 stagecoach corridor from north heading south.
Are we still going to implement that signage?
I know they've ordered them. I got a call into the public works and they actually got them in, but hopefully they'll get them in shortly.
Just for verification for anybody out there, we're looking at starting a new program in which we're going to put they're not political signs. They're going to be yard signs notifying everybody of when their leaf collection is going to be in that neighborhood. So I'll keep people that can't get on the internet or whatever, they can have an idea when the leaf collection is going to be in their neighborhood. So that's all I have to report on. And Barb, I guess we'll just run right into our resolutions.
Item number 1, resolution in support of Senate Bill S. 2254 and Assembly Bill A. 3821, which affirms the language and legislative intent of the Fair Housing Act.
Move the resolution?
Second.
Call roll.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Item number 2, authorizing a one-year extension of the contract with Dan Zinker and Markov for actuarial services.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Call the roll, Mark.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 3, accepting the conveyance of real property known as Block 331, Lot 6, on the municipal tax map of the Township of Upper, County of Cape May, in the state of New Jersey, by gift.
Move the resolution.
Second?
Call the roll.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 4, authorizing the extension of a subcontract with the County of Cape May for the state fiscal year 2018 Municipal Alliance Program.
Motion to authorize?
Second.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 5, appointing Elise G. Crawford to act as special legal counsel.
Dan, which one is,
This is for the contested bond for the paving project, which is connected with number 8 below.
motion to approve the appointment?
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 6, appointing Jeffrey R. Sereni and Associates to act as special legal counsel in matters involving affordable housing obligations.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Call the roll, Mark.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 7, authorizing the engineer to sign and submit applications for recreation development to the Cape May County Open Space Program.
Paul? What's this for?
This is for, at this point, this is for the Harbor Road project for the bike and pedestrian, and then also for the, looking at Roosevelt Boulevard and Route 9, the old former gas station, Osmonders, and, looking at whether or not we can acquire or to use for improvements for like an arboretum park area at that location.
Okay. Move the resolution.
Second?
Call the roll, Mark.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 8, accepting the bid and authorizing the execution of a contract for the 2016 paving project.
Before you act on this, perhaps a little further explanation of background. I know you've all gotten a copy of the resolution and the exhibits. This is for our paving project. We actually had 4 bids. The 2 lowest bids were very close. The lowest bid was $16,000, approximately less than the next lowest bid. And there has been, since we first reviewed the bids, there has been activity by legal counsel on both the 2 low bidders. The township is aware of that. Obviously, in terms of the resolution outlined that issue. The next lowest bidder was South State Inc., and they are contesting the bid of the lowest bidder, which is our paving company. Essentially, their contest, as you can see from the correspondence from their legal counsel, attacks the bid bond of the lowest bidder, Arawak, in 2 respects. One, it didn't have the name of the company where the president signed, and number 2, it referred to a contract that was allegedly not attached to the bid bond, but in all other respects, the bid bond was accurate. My initial review and Paul's initial review, as well as Barbara's initial review, did not think these alleged defects were fatal or material, because it will, in all likelihood, and since we've been advised that the next lowest bidder, South State, will file legal action, we procured Ms. Crawford as a special counsel that specializes in these things, and we got an opinion consistent with what our initial opinions were. So the recommendation from both myself and special counsel is to award it to the lowest bidder, and hopefully it will be expeditiously resolved without too much expense to the township if it is litigated.
And my understanding is this bond is a bid guarantee as opposed to a performance bond, which would ordinarily be
Correct.
presented
It's
with the
bid
contract.
guarantee. And frankly, both myself and special counsel have looked at it and said that they're not material defects, that the bid shouldn't be thrown out. But, judges can differ, or lawyers can differ, there's only $16,000 difference, and apparently both Arawak and South State are prepared to litigate it.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Call the roll, Barb?
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 9, under new business, approval for B&K Enterprise to hold a craft home show on April 8th and 9th, 2017, at the Upper Township Community Center.
Move for grant approval.
Second.
This will be subject to our standard procedures. There are a few items in the submissions that Barbara and I have talked about that were going to be corrected. I think she corrected at least one of them, not both of them. And there's some language changes in the user agreement that will come down. We'll get the resolution to you.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 10, South Shore Stitchers request to hold a raffle, number 468, at the Tuckahoe Methodist Church on November 13th, 2017.
Move for grant permission.
Second.
Call the roll, Barb?
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Motion is carried, 4 in favor. Item number 11, under discussion, the 2017 draft resident information packet.
Do you want to elaborate
Talk
on
to
this?
us.
This is the standard resident information packet we put together each year. This is the draft. Goes over, obviously, the holidays and, and the different times and dates that Public Works does the collection for the various other times, as far as loose leaf collection, brush collection, bulk trash collection, sets up all the rules and requirements for residents to put those materials out to the curb for collection. And there was no major change. I think the only thing we slid the one brush month from March to April, just based on timing from last year. It just seemed to
Did this address the leaf pickup also?
What I did do is, similar to how we're right now kind of coordinating the leaf collection and doing collections in zones from the other way, it does set up a preliminary schedule of doing that. We may have to, after we go back and review this year's collection, to see how, since we did change up how, the routing of that, we may come in, after we get all done, even though we may adopt this now, we may come back in January or early February and modify those dates after we kind of get a chance to evaluate how this leaf season.
Would it be better for us to wait till the end of leaf pickup when we do our reviews on it and come up? I'm just saying, just to,
But we need to adopt this because, we start collecting in January for all the other materials, so we
Right.
kind of can't
Okay.
hold off on that because we need to move forward today.
Well, the information packet actually doesn't get mailed out. It's basically the internet and
yeah.
website.
That's how it's disseminated.
I didn't know if it was going to set the policy or, as far as the change that we made this year or,
It's following what the change that we made this year, yes.
all right. But if we change it, we'll just have to change
It's
it
just
back
matter
again.
of
All right.
It would just be a matter of moving the days, one day or.
I'm hearing mixed reviews from people out on the street as well as, other people, and I just want to make sure that we don't adopt something that maybe isn't ready to be adopted yet, that's all.
Paul, when we're picking up the compostable materials, with the way the MUA is set up, they take grass as a separate commodity by itself. So are we using two collection vehicles for that?
No, it's usually, most of the stuff we collect is grass
Okay.
in with that collection.
So you're not getting enough leaf, branches, twigs, and so on and so forth to result in the loads being rejected?
Correct, it's a minimal amount. If they notice that they have several, whether it's containerized or something of the small twigs, what they'll do is, after the he's done the one round of pure compostable material. If he feels he's got enough to go around and pick up, I'll say, small piles of twigs and branches, or within that, or they'll pick them up with brush collection.
You may save yourself a cycle of the truck if you pick all the material up together and take it to the ACUA, because they will take it as a mixed load.
That's something that
So that might be something to consider on those days. It'll just, it'll save a truck day.
But they can usually, those number of stops aren't that many where we're picking up that. It might not justify traveling all the way over to Pleasantville to go back for a half a load, to a half a dozen residences. It's not.
Okay.
But I'll pass that along, and we can use that in evaluation.
Has there been any consideration with picking up grass clippings right now? Right now, it's a two-man job with the one-arm trucks.
We've had a couple of internal discussions about that. I'd asked the supervisor that oversees that area to kind of give a proposal and kind of work up the numbers of how many carts that we thought that we would have to purchase to start a program like that, and then make an evaluation of bring it back to the committee as far as whether or not we want the residents to pay for those carts, or does the saving in manpower and efficiency of collecting by carts, kind of pay for the cart itself and deal with it in that case.
I think it's proved itself in trash. Remember,
I wouldn't disagree. That's why we are, looking at it, and I would anticipate, that you'd probably have something, to committee first quarter of next year for proposal to look at it.
and probably what we should do, if we're going to look at it, the workman comp claims on the compost vehicles too, if we've had any, or
It's been limited. It hasn't been.
it hasn't been zero though.
It's not been zero, no. But that is a set crew, fairly identified.
Yeah.
Fairly identified, but there have been some workers. I don't know if it's directly attributable to that work or some of his other duties, but, something we can definitely look into.
What kind of action would we take on this? Okay. Just gonna post it?
Is this, are you guys going to be adopted? We usually have a resolution.
No, we'll have a
You get
resolution.
The other thing I passed out to you as a separate sheet this evening was for the commercial information. As you know, we're starting, we adopted the ordinance to do dumpsters for the commercial businesses. The recycling coordinator has been going around the businesses to kind of figure out who want dumpsters as opposed to getting private collection for any collections over the 96-gallon container that we provide them.
Is this for us to proof, or was this actually put out?
This is it's a draft.
Because you go, it's very confusing to me. I mean, the bottom paragraph says that you are required to have a private collection if you generate more than 26 or 96 gallons.
Of trash. That's already.
That's part of the ordinance now.
That's already part of the ordinance, and that's how all commercial properties essentially are handled now. That if we kind of differentiate commercial properties into if they're similar to a residential property and they can
And how big
haul
are-
their trash into one container. This is not recyclables. This is just trash.
And perhaps, Paul, the heading should be repeated in that first sentence. So if you generate more than 96 gallons.
I mean,
That's what got confusing, because he didn't look at the
Right.
heading, he's reading the body of the paragraph.
Okay.
but there's, there's plenty of commercial stops that have more than 96 gallons of trash out.
But we don't collect them.
Okay.
I mean, that's part of our policy is that they're not being, that's part of the ordinance.
They have an option. If you want to-
Well, they were out on trash day, that's all I know.
Well, we might, consider doing an audit there, just to,
They're collecting them anyway.
Yeah. I mean, we have to
We'll
try,
have to look into that, Paul, and make
the
sure.
recycling coordinator and maybe Chris Thomas need to take a ride out once in a while, look around.
Action?
Okay.
This needs to be
This is
revised,
as a resolution. I mean, I'll revise that.
but it needs a resolution as well, so what we'll do is we'll try to revise it, because I just saw this tonight, so.
Okay.
maybe just one
So just
thing.
table it right now?
Maybe just one thing for consideration here. There's no tipping fees associated with recycling at this point in time, and it's not anticipated that there will be. We're going from a 96-gallon container to a 3 cubic yard container. That's a huge jump. 4 96-gallon containers is a little bit less than 2 cubic yards. So we're going from a vessel that will hold, 0.48 of a cubic yard, and then the next option for the commercial establishment is something that would hold, approximately 3 cubic yards. We may want to consider allowing the commercial properties to purchase, perhaps up to 4 96-gallon containers. Or I'm sorry, purchase up to 3 in addition to the one they get from the township. So they don't have to go directly to a 3-yard container. It might be a way to, for some of the smaller commercial establishments which are generating more than 96 gallons, to kind of step off a little bit, to have a graduated thing.
And
Just to remind you that was the issue that was discussed when we made the amendment to the ordinance earlier this year. And the committee at that time had said, we're going to cut it off because we give one to all the residential. But if you have more, you're going to have to get a container. And my understanding is it's the smallest container you can get, right?
No, you can purchase a 2-yard container.
You can?
Yeah,
All
in
right.
fact, they could even purchase a 1.5 yards.
What's-
Yard and a half and a 2-yard container are probably very close to
Can we operate
the
those other containers if they
Yes.
purchase them?
As long as they're the standard.
That,
Yeah.
just, if
And
we're
that-
going to go in that direction, we need to amend the ordinance before we can put a regulation in.
And is a business going to have the option to buy more than one container if they want, the larger ones?
Yes.
Okay.
For recycling, this is just, and we're just talking.
I mean, I just happen to know the campground industry firsthand, and it's,
Yeah, I think that the idea for the cutoff at a 3-yard container is once you get beyond a 3-yard container, you start getting into some risk elements for your personnel that are handling the larger rear load containers.
yeah, but 2 of them,
Yeah, 2 of them is fine, but if you're looking at a 6-yard
Oh, I
rear or
understand.
something like that, then you're dealing with things that, you get people's fingers mashed and cut off, and, it can get kind of ugly.
So what I would suggest is it be revised or revisited, and perhaps some discussions internally, and come up with another proposal. Then we have to amend the ordinance before you send this out. This, not to say that's not a good point, but that was not raised when we amended the ordinance
Okay.
5 months ago. So,
So we're gonna table this until the next meeting?
yeah, well, I would table it until, I guess, the next meeting you can come up with a suggestion.
Yeah, we ought to be able to figure this out pretty
And then
quick, and
you're
maybe,
gonna have to adopt an ordinance at the beginning of the year, and then you'll implement it by sending out notice to the commercial users. Paul, do you agree?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay. Can we take a brief recess, or committee then needs to use the,
that can sing?
yeah, if we had the Uptown Singers here, we could do Christmas carols again.
there you go. It's a joke for every crowd,
Last page.
Wait, this thing's still not working. Still not working.
I mean, technically, soon will change.
Oh, successful or not successful. You know, your tender ones, we had up at finish. And then you continue on with the next for breakfast at my house. If we get some tomato juice, we could probably make some Bloody Marys too.
It's dangerous.
Especially when everyone's shopping afterwards. What goes in there, vodka? Vodka? That'll do vodka. Are we okay? Where'd it go?
All right, looks like we're back in business again. All right, so clarification, item number 11, we're tabling that, and we'll move it back to the next meeting.
Okay, item number 12.
Paul?
Yes, part of the Bayview boat grant project, there were some areas that our base map did not have some accurate plottings or of where the existing topo was, so it's requiring some additional backfill and sand placement and stone along the edge of the placement of the concrete curbing, and just to bring it back up to grade. And then also in some of those areas where we, so that's a quantity that we need to increase. The decreases are based on, we're right next to the coastal wetlands, and looking at it, there's really not an area that I'm gonna need to place actual topsoil and grassy, then I'm just gonna use the sand, additional beach sand to grade in those areas, and use some of my living shoreline plantings if I need any to plant some wetland type plants along the edge of the marsh. So that's why I'll be able to decrease, which comes into a net change order of $15,199.05, which is 4.5% of the contract, which is, within the limits that the committee can approve a change order, but it's work necessary to complete the project. It's all based on the unit pricing, it's a unit price contract, so it's just based on the unit prices that are given in the contract.
Where does this put us, Paul, in the money that we had budgeted for this project versus where it's going to come in?
This would still put us well under budget what the original engineer's estimate budget was.
And the plantings will be done in the fall or spring? I mean?
In the spring, yes.
Any projection as far as when it's going to be done?
By the end of this year, it's all based on, he's working daily on, getting, so by the end of the year, the boat ramp, come January, the boat ramp should be able to be open for use, but there'll still be some work to be done in the springtime. We can't do wetland plantings at this point of the year, you can't harvest the plants.
All right, so the fill's not gonna really extend the project itself.
No,
That'll get done within
This
the...
is work that he needs to do currently.
He's got, he's almost got to backfill the curb to keep it there.
Make a motion to approve the change order?
Your second?
Second.
Mark?
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
John, motion for the payment of bills?
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and then incorporated into the full minutes of this meeting.
Second?
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
On our website, there are reports of municipal departments. Number 14, construction code, and division of EMS for anybody that's interested. And motion to approve.
Make a motion, we accept the reports from the departments?
Mr. Barr, or Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay, and at this time, opens up to the public comment. Anybody wish to approach Township Committee, come up to the podium, State your name, your address, serial number, you're all set.
Natalie Neese, 779 Route 50, Petersburg. I'd like a clarification on your ordinance 8-5.1, dogs running at large. 8-6.1, or
You're gonna have to give us more detail of what you're asking about rather than just an ordinance number.
okay, well, I dropped off a copy of a letter today to the township. Did the committee members get it?
Yes.
Yes, yes, we did.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
have a chance
You
to
have a
review it.
complaint you have about a dog running at large?
Yes.
What's your,
Well, it's been ongoing for 6 months now, and the ordinance 8 talks about dogs running at large, and 8.6 talks about enforcement, and specifically it says there's a certified animal control officer. And I have called animal control, I've called the township, I've called the state police. Dogs next door continue to use my property as a toilet, and they knock on my door. They've come into my house, and they follow me in, and the police said they can't do anything except call animal control. Animal control says call the police, and she said, Linda Gentile said that the cases that they've had with the prosecutor is dismissing them. So
I
I'd like,
have a response to your letter. Apparently it was sent to the animal control officer, Linda Gentile, and the township committee doesn't have that, but it came in at 5 o'clock this afternoon. I just pulled it up on the email, where she informs our clerk Barbara that the state police and animal control notified Natalie and told her that unless you personally witness a dog at large, they can't file charges. So you have to see it running around. They'd have to see it. However, you can, if you see it, you can go to the state police and file charges against the neighbor.
Actually, they don't even,
Explain that to you.
they don't even have to go to the state police. I believe they can come right here to the municipal court and sign a complaint.
Municipal court
Yeah.
as well, yeah. But bottom line is, they have to have a witness, a live witness. And that's apparently what Linda Gentile had explained to you, and that's what she explained to the clerk in response to your complaint.
well, over the 6 months, that's not necessarily what she explained to me. What she said was that I had to have a picture of the dog on my property. So now, when I took the time and made the pictures,
That's just evidence.
Yeah,
That means you
that's
witnessed
evidence,
it. That says evidence. Doesn't mean you have to have it, but you can testify.
Do you know who the
Let
owner,
judge.
don't, without saying anything, do you know who the owner of the dog is?
I do now because there's been an ongoing
Okay.
problem where the dog wasn't licensed and tagged.
Apparently, it's
you
what
know
they
who-
That's what I'm wondering, which
Yeah, you
neighbor
have a
was.
conflict, so you shouldn't
That's
get
why
involved.
I don't want you to say any names or anything. You know who the owner of the dog is? And if you can identify the dog, you've already have evidence of a picture of the dog being on your property, just go to municipal court and sign a complaint.
Except for your ordinance 8-6 enforcement calls for a certified animal, it says the township committee shall appoint a certified animal control officer who shall be responsible for animal control within the jurisdiction. And it goes on here to say that the officer has the power and the authority, and
You as a private citizen have the ability to go in and
If,
sign a complaint.
if the animal control officer signed a complaint, you're still gonna have to come to court and testify.
But
You're the only witness.
Let me explain. The animal control officer won't sign a complaint unless they witness it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
They
that's
won't
the
sign on
problem, and that's,
information.
she can't sign a complaint unless she finds what you're saying is accurate. I can't speak for the animal control officer, but my guess is by the time they go out there, the dog's not running at large. They have filed complaints against owners of dogs who are running at large.
and the prosecutor has been dismissing the charges. And I don't want to get before Judge
That's not
Worksfire
an
again.
individual case, that's the prosecutor's prerogative.
Well, I was before Judge Birchmeyer, and he has a concern when the township appoints people such as zoning officers or perhaps certified animal control officers, and they don't do their jobs. And that's my concern. It's like, you know, you have these ordinances, the animal control is, I guess, contracted, and my tax dollars are paying for it.
Natalie, we're giving you direction on what to do, all right? And you're making allegations that, as far as dismissal of cases that you're not involved in. What we're doing is we're giving you advice on what to do, go to the municipal court and sign a complaint on your own behalf.
You have the right to complain to the animal control officer, but if they don't witness the violation, they can't cite somebody. That's their enforcement job. If they witness a violation, they cite somebody. If they don't witness it, they don't cite them, they can't.
Well,
You can't go to a police officer and say, by the way, that guy across the street was speeding down my street earlier today, I want you to go out and give him a ticket and take him to court. No, the police officer has to catch them.
well, what about the fact that the dog was living in the township for 6 months and wasn't, didn't have its rabies shot and it wasn't tagged? I mean, what does your ordinance?
You're bringing up accusations that can't be discussed here because you have no proof.
Was that problem rectified though? Is the dog licensed and rabies
Well,
shot?
this last time it came to my house, it now has a collar on it and a tag. Now, I'm not sure what it says because the dog has to be 100, 120 pounds. And I mean, it jumped on me the last time. But
Instead of a-
I know I've been in here and I talked to the girls in the clerk's office, and the dog was not registered previously. And I thought your ordinance said that the dogs had to be registered by a certain time.
The
And,
dogs
you know,
have
the
to be,
complaints.
all dogs need to be registered by the age of 7 months.
Yeah, and when they're living in the township, they're supposed to be registered. And I mean, this went on for months, and the dog wasn't registered, and they were never brought to court for it.
That's because nobody ever signed a complaint against them. If
Well, the
that's your
animal-
allegation,
Well-
Natalie,
It clearly
there's
says
three
here that
actions.
animal control has the authority to do that.
Well, the first thing animal control is they find a dog that's not registered, they don't drag him in front of the judge. They get the dog, they talk to the owner, and they get the dog registered. Problem resolved. The first step is not going to court. That's the last thing that happens.
I understand this, but it's been going on for 6 months. And now it's to the point where you are telling me that I'm the one that has to go to the township.
If you're the one
court.
who's seen the dog at large, then you're the only witness to the violation. So you're the only one who can really testify. The animal control officer can only testify if the animal control officer actually witnesses the dog at large.
When the animal control officer, you call the animal control, I'm sure, right? And they come up to the property and investigate, where's the dog? Probably at home. They have not seen the dog on your property.
Well, the police have I've been there and seen the dog on my property and ushered the dog home. I mean, to me, it sounds like, you know, you have an ordinance and neither the police department or the animal control has any way to make it stick. And that's my concern. I mean, my tax dollars pay for that. And, you know, another thing, you call animal control on the weekend, they're not even in. You know, you have to call the police. And then supposedly you can only call, I guess, if there's a car accident. And today I was told that there were 2 dogs recently killed on Highway 50. So, I mean,
Well, that would be a solution to the problem.
yeah,
We
they also
an
have a
800
pig.
number down
They
here.
have a pig that runs loose
Natalie, do
too.
you have anything further? Our advice is to go to the court and file a complaint if you wish to.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank
Thank you for
you.
your time. Anybody else? All right, John?
I hereby move that a resolution be incorporated into the minutes authorizing the Township Committee to enter into an executive session for the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act: contract negotiation with annual appointments and fire district's website services, potential litigation for a tax lien foreclosure judgment, and also personnel. I also include in my motion the estimated time and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. It is anticipated that the matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. With respect to employment and personnel matters, such discussions will be made public if and when formal action is taken or when the individuals involved consent that it can be made public. With respect to contract negotiations, such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there is no longer a reason for confidentiality. With respect to litigation matters, such discussions will be made public when litigation is complete and the applicable appeal period has expired.
Second.
Mark?
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
That convenes our public portion of the meeting. Thank you very much for attending. Have a good night.